Something is happening to you right now, not tomorrow, not later. Right now, in this very moment, as you watch these words move across your screen, a force older than language is already working inside you. April 11th, 2026 carries one of the most transformative alignments of this entire year. The moon locking directly onto Pluto in Aquarius. And whether you understand astrology or not, your soul already knows. That restlessness you've been carrying, that strange, unnamed feeling that something is about to change, that is not anxiety. That is preparation. The universe chose this moment, and it chose you to be awake inside it. There is a feeling that has been living inside you lately. You may have tried to name it and found that no word quite fits. It is not sadness exactly. It is not fear exactly. It sits somewhere beneath both of those things, quiet and persistent, like a low hum beneath the surface of an otherwise ordinary day. You feel it when you wake up before your alarm and lie still in the dark, staring at the ceiling without knowing why. You feel it when a conversation ends and you walk away with the strange sense that something important was left unsaid. You feel it in the pauses between your thoughts, in the moments when the world goes quiet and something inside you stirs without being called. You have probably tried to explain it away. You have told yourself that you are tired, that you are overwhelmed, that life has simply been a lot lately. And perhaps all of those things are true, but they are not the reason. The reason goes deeper than your schedule, deeper than your circumstances, deeper than anything happening on the surface of your life. What you are feeling is not a symptom of your life being too full. It is a symptom of your soul recognizing that something beneath the life you have been living is about to be exposed. This is what Pluto does. Pluto does not arrive gently. It does not knock and wait to be invited in. It moves through the layers of everything you have built, everything you have believed, everything you have grown comfortable inside of, and it begins to loosen what was never truly secured. And right now, with the moon moving into direct alignment with Pluto in Aquarius on April 11th, that loosening has already begun. The energy of this alignment does not wait for the clock to strike a certain hour. It builds. It seeps in through the quiet moments, through the pauses, through the unnamed feelings that arrive without explanation. That restlessness you have been carrying is not a malfunction. It is a signal. Your energetic body is extraordinarily sensitive, and it is responding to a frequency that the rational mind has not yet been given permission to process. The soul always receives before the mind understands, and what your soul is receiving right now is the advance wave of a truth that is moving toward you, not to destroy you, but to finally, fully free you. Pluto is often called the planet of death and rebirth, but what it truly governs is revelation. It is the force in the cosmos that refuses to allow what is false to continue wearing the mask of what is real. When it aligns with the moon, the planet of your emotional inner world, your deepest feelings are pulled to the surface, not to overwhelm you, but to show you what has been quietly costing you everything. The restlessness you feel is the friction between who you have been pretending to be and who you actually are. It is the pressure of a truth pressing against the walls you built to contain it. This feeling is not something to fix or suppress or medicate into silence. It is something to listen to, because beneath the discomfort, beneath the hum, beneath the inexplicable unease that has followed you through your days, there is a message. And the message is this: something in your life is not aligned with your truth. You have known it for longer than you are willing to admit, and the universe, with the precision of a surgeon and the patience of eternity, has chosen April 11th to make sure you can no longer look away. You are not meant to stay comfortable in what was slowly making you smaller. The restlessness was never the problem. It was always the beginning of the answer. Something has been happening to your memory lately, not in the way of forgetting. Quite the opposite. Memories you had carefully folded away, tucked into the quieter corners of your mind, have been finding their way back to you uninvited. A face surfaces while you are washing dishes. A conversation you had years ago replays itself with startling clarity while you are trying to fall asleep. A feeling from a chapter of your life you believed was fully closed wraps itself around you in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, and suddenly you are somewhere else entirely, feeling something you thought you had already finished feeling. You may have dismissed these moments as random, the mind wandering. Nostalgia without a clear source. But what is happening to you is not random. And it is not simply your memory misfiring. What is rising to the surface right now is rising with purpose. It is rising because something in those buried moments contains a truth that your present self has not yet fully received. And Pluto, in its ancient and relentless wisdom, will not allow you to move forward while that truth remains unexamined beneath the floor of your awareness. This is the nature of the moon and Pluto in alignment. The moon rules everything you carry emotionally, your inner tides, your unspoken feelings, the archive of every experience that has shaped the way you love, the way you protect yourself, the way you decide who is safe and who is not. Pluto rules what is hidden, what is buried, what has been sealed away because it was too heavy or too complicated or too painful to hold in the open. When these two forces lock onto each other in the sky, as they are doing on April 11th, the sealed archive opens, not violently, not all at once, but steadily and with extraordinary precision. The things you buried begin to breathe again. The memories that are returning to you now are not accidents. They are curated, selected by something far wiser than your conscious mind, and delivered to you at exactly the moment your soul is ready to receive what they actually contain. Because here's what most people do not understand about memory: you do not remember a moment simply to relive it. You remember it because there is still something inside it that belongs to your future. A lesson not yet integrated, a wound not yet fully seen, a pattern not yet named. And until you name it, until you truly see it, it will continue to quietly shape your choices, your relationships, and your sense of what you deserve. The alignment on April 11th is not bringing these memories back to punish you with the past. Pluto does not deal in punishment. It deals in precision. Every image, every voice, every emotional echo that has been surfacing for you in recent days carries within it a thread. And if you are willing to follow that thread, rather than push the memory away out of discomfort, it will lead you to something you have been searching for without knowing what to call it. It will lead you to the root. The original moment where a belief was formed, a wall was built, a version of yourself was decided upon. And once you see the root, you have the power to choose differently. This is what it means to be an awakened soul moving through a Pluto transit. You are not being haunted, you are being shown. The difference between those two things is everything. A haunting keeps you trapped in the past. A revelation uses the past to unlock your future. What is rising in you right now is a revelation dressed in the familiar clothing of memory. Do not look away from what is returning. It came back because you are finally strong enough to see it clearly. And what you see clearly, you can finally release. There is someone in your life you have been thinking about differently lately, or perhaps it is not a person. Perhaps it is a role you have been playing, a version of yourself you have been maintaining for so long that you forgot it was ever a performance. Perhaps it is a situation you have been loyal to long past the point where that loyalty was serving anything real. Whatever form it takes, you know the feeling. It is that quiet, persistent knowing that something no longer fits. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that announces itself with conflict or crisis, It arrives softly in the still moments, like a truth that has been waiting patiently for you to be ready to hear it. You may have been ignoring it. You are good at ignoring it. You have built entire seasons of your life around the practice of overriding that inner knowing with reason, with obligation, with the fear of what it would mean to actually listen to it. You tell yourself that things are fine, that every relationship has its difficulties, that every path has its seasons of discomfort. And while all of that may be true, there is a difference between the discomfort of growth and the quiet devastation of staying somewhere your soul has already left. You feel that difference in your body. You have always felt it. The question has never been whether you could feel it. The question has been whether you were willing to trust it. What you are experiencing right now is not doubt, and it is not ingratitude, and it is not you being difficult or unreasonable or asking for too much. What you are experiencing is the universe performing the surgery it promised you, because this is what the Moon and Pluto alignment on April 11th does at its deepest level. Pluto is the great revealer of what has been draining you in silence. Not the things that obviously hurt you, not the wounds that bled openly and demanded your attention. Pluto goes after the quiet drains, the ones you normalized, the ones you built your identity around tolerating, the relationships that take more than they return, the commitments that shrink you slowly, so slowly you almost did not notice the shrinking, the versions of yourself you perform for people who never actually asked to know the real you. The Moon in Aquarius amplifies this energy with a particular kind of emotional clarity. Aquarius does not do sentiment for the sake of sentiment. It sees through the stories we tell ourselves to avoid the truth, and under this alignment, the emotional body is being recalibrated toward honesty, toward a kind of inner integrity that refuses to keep pretending. You may feel it as a sudden inability to go through the motions the way you used to. Things that once felt manageable now feel unbearable, not because you have become weaker, but because you have become more awake. And the awake version of you simply cannot inhabit spaces that were designed for a version of you that no longer exists. This is the surgical precision of Pluto. It does not remove what belongs to you. It removes what was always foreign to your truest nature, but had been living inside your life as though it belonged there. And yes, that removal can feel like grief. It can feel like loss. It can feel like standing in a room you once called home and realizing the walls no longer recognize you, but what feels like an ending is not an ending. It is an excavation. The universe is not taking something from you. It is returning you to yourself. Trust the knowing that has been rising in you. Trust the quiet that descends when you imagine releasing what no longer fits. That quiet is not emptiness. That quiet is what your energy feels like when it finally stops being spent on what was never yours to carry, what leaves now was never meant to stay forever, and what remains will finally have room to become everything it was always meant to be. You have been craving silence lately in a way that feels almost cellular. Not the silence of boredom, not the silence of loneliness, but a specific, textured quiet that you find yourself reaching for in the middle of conversations, in the middle of rooms full of people, in the middle of days that look perfectly normal from the outside. You have been turning down the volume on things that used to hold your attention easily, scrolling less, talking less, sitting more, staring out of windows at nothing in particular, and somehow finding more truth in that nothing than in anything the noise around you has been offering. People may have noticed, they may have asked if you are all right, and you have said yes because you are, but you also know that what is happening inside you is something you do not yet have the language to explain. This withdrawal is not depression. It is not avoidance. It is not you becoming disconnected from the world around you. It is you becoming more deeply connected to the world within you. And there is a profound difference between those two things that most people never learn to recognize, because most people are never still enough to feel where the boundary between them actually lives. You are learning to feel it. And the reason you are learning to feel it right now in these specific days is not accidental. Your soul is responding to a frequency that requires stillness in order to be received. When the moon aligns with Pluto on April 11th, a transmission begins moving through the energetic field of every soul that is open enough to receive it. But transmissions of this depth, transmissions that carry the kind of truth Pluto deals in, cannot be received through noise. They cannot be received through distraction or performance or the constant management of how you appear to others. They can only be received in the place underneath all of that. The place you find when everything goes quiet and you finally stop running from yourself and simply sit with what is there. That is the place the universe is trying to reach, and your soul, in its extraordinary wisdom, has been preparing the conditions for that contact by drawing you inward, by making the noise feel unbearable, by making the silence feel like the only honest thing left. The Aquarius moon deepens this pull toward inner listening. Aquarius governs the higher mind, the part of your consciousness that exists above the personal, above the emotional storms, above the narratives you have inherited from your history. Under this moon, your awareness is being elevated. You're being invited to observe your own life from a higher vantage point, to see the patterns you have been too close to see clearly, to hear the truths you have been too busy to hear fully. And that elevation requires a particular kind of interior quiet, the kind you have been inexplicably drawn to, the kind that feels less like an absence of sound and more like the presence of something vast and knowing, breathing just beneath the surface of everything. Do not apologize for the silence you have been seeking. Do not let anyone convince you that your withdrawal is a problem to be solved or a mood to be corrected. What you are doing, even if you did not know you were doing it, is creating the conditions for revelation. You are clearing the channel. You are making yourself available to the kind of truth that does not arrive in headlines or conversations or the opinions of people who have never sat still long enough to hear their own soul speak. You are making yourself available to the kind of truth that arrives only in the deep, unguarded, unperformed quiet of a soul that has finally decided it is ready. The universe has been knocking. The silence you have been craving is simply you walking toward the door. And what waits on the other side of that door is not something to fear. It is the most honest, most luminous, most liberated version of everything you have always been, waiting patiently to finally be let in. The silence was never emptiness. It was always the sound of your soul preparing to speak. Something is shifting in the way you are beginning to see yourself. It is subtle and it is new, and it does not yet have the confidence of something fully formed. But it is there. You can feel it in the moments when you catch yourself thinking more clearly than you have in a long time. In the moments when a decision that would have paralyzed you before now feels strangely obvious. In the moments when you look at something in your life that you have been afraid to face, and instead of the familiar wave of dread, you feel something quieter, something steadier, something that feels almost like readiness. You do not know exactly where it is coming from, but you know it is real, and you know it is yours. This is not the false confidence that comes from suppressing your doubt. This is not the brittle certainty of someone performing bravery for an audience. What you are beginning to feel is something far more rare and far more valuable than either of those things. It is the clarity that arrives only after the stripping, only after something has been taken from you that was never truly yours to carry, only after the illusions have been peeled back and you have sat with what remained and discovered that what remained was enough, more than enough. that what remained was actually the most powerful thing in the room, and it had been there all along, quietly obscured by everything that Pluto is now removing. This is the gift hidden inside the Moon and Pluto alignment of April 11th. Not the discomfort, not the revelations, not the release, though all of those are real and all of those are necessary. The gift is what comes after all of it. The gift is the you that is left standing when the surgery is complete, clearer, lighter, more anchored in your own truth than you have perhaps ever been in this lifetime, because Pluto does not strip you down to leave you bare and broken. Pluto strips you down to show you what you are actually made of, and what you are made of has always been extraordinary. You simply could not see it clearly beneath the weight of everything that was layered on top of it. The fearless clarity you are beginning to feel rising in you is not new. It is ancient. It is the part of you that existed before the fear was installed, before the doubts were inherited, before the world began teaching you that your own knowing could not be trusted. It is the original version of your awareness, unfiltered and unafraid, and returning to the surface after a long and necessary submersion. And it is returning now on the eve of one of the most powerful alignments of this entire year, because the timing is not random. The timing has never been random. Everything that has brought you to this moment, every loss, every lesson, every night you spent questioning everything, was moving you toward exactly this, toward the version of yourself that can finally hold the truth without flinching. You are not the same person you were at the beginning of this journey. You may not be able to articulate exactly how you have changed, but you feel it. In your body, in your breath, in the quiet steadiness that has begun to replace the panic that used to live in the center of your chest. That steadiness is real. That clarity is real, and it belongs to you. And not because you were lucky, not because the stars aligned in your favor by chance, but because you did the work. You stayed. You kept going even when going felt impossible. You chose awareness over comfort again and again, even when no one around you understood why. The Moon and Pluto are not doing something to you on April 11th. They are doing something for you. They are completing a process that your soul set in motion long before this moment. They are delivering the final piece of a truth that your entire journey has been building toward. And that truth, when it arrives fully, when it settles into every corner of your being with the quiet authority of something that has always been real, will not feel like a shock. It will feel like a homecoming. You are never lost. You are always being found. And tomorrow, the universe places the final light exactly where it needs to be so that you can finally see the whole of what you are. Not a fragment. Not a work in progress, not someone still waiting to be chosen, someone who was chosen long before they ever thought to question it, someone who is always in every moment exactly where they were meant to be. Welcome to your next level. You have earned every single step of it.